Welcome back to the Today with Tally podcast, folks. We've got a great show in store for you today. We sit down with a 23-year retired U.S. Marine gunnery sergeant who was also the founder of the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. But first,
hello, friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Today with Tally. The mission and goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and search Today with Tally. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and share the program as well. Ladies and gentlemen, your host of the evening, Mr. Brian Tally.
Now, our next guest, retired Marine, Gunnery Sergeant Steve Wood, served in the military rodeos in the 70s and the 80s and was also the team captain of the military rodeo team that won the championships in 1982 and 1983. Like I said, this salty Marine, if you will, joined at the height of the Vietnam War in 1968. And again, is the founder of the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. And with that, we are honored to be joined by the man himself. Gunny, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Hey, hanging in there, man. I know we had some issues going on there, but I think we got everything resolved now and everything's good to go. How's life treating you these days, Gunny?
Good. Doing 6 mile humps a day and keeping in shape.
6 miles a day, is that right?
Yeah.
So what does that consist of? Is that something that you just go out and walk, or?
It's basically walking with a water pack on my back, a Camelback.
Mm-hmm. And where are you living at these days?
I live down in a place called Wheatfields, Arizona, by Lake Roosevelt.
Okay, yeah, because I know you were born in Nebraska, right?
Correct.
What was life like growing up there in Nebraska?
I was born in Nebraska, but I was raised in Montana and Wyoming. I was young when I left there. My father worked in the oil fields all of his life. So we traveled a little bit here and there. Back in Nebraska, my uncle had a arena that we go to, and that's where I started rodeo at.
So you've been a cowboy your whole life?
Rodeo Cowboy, yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, you would end up joining the Marine Corps in 1968. Did you ever think that it would be a 23-year career?
Not really at the time, but once I got into the Marine Corps, then I realized that I enjoyed it and was going to continue with it.
Sure. And what was it like when you were serving active duty in the Marine Corps? They didn't have a rodeo team back then, did they? Or is this something that you created while you were in?
No, we in the 70s, after I left Vietnam, I started rodeoing again, and it was mainly open rodeos and IPR back in the day, and then they changed it to IPRA later on.
Gotcha. So you competed in the 70s and the 80s, and again, you were the team captain of the military rodeo that would end up winning back-to-back championships in 1982 and 1983. Now, were these championships based on you riding against other service organizations?
Yeah, it was other teams is what it was. It was a team competition. There's Navy, Air Force, all the services were involved in it. It was the finals was held in Yuma, Arizona at the time.
Mm-hmm. Now, You would get into stock contracting. Tell us about that. What inspired you to say, you know what, I want to go out and get my own bulls and my own horses and begin, and become a stock contractor?
Well, basically, the way that started out was in 29 Palms, California. We didn't have any practice bulls mainly there. We had a machine, and I'd like to give kudos to Roy Madden, who was passed at this time, but he was my mentor, and he actually worked at the what we call the rodeo area there.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to go to this rancher out at a place called the Hole in the Wall Ranch, and got some bulls that turned out to be pretty good. Their ranch stock back at the time, and that's where most contractors were getting their bulls back in those days, was off ranches and trying them out. And I ended up with 6 of them for practice, and we had a practice pen out in town in 29 Palms, and we practiced every weekend that we didn't have a rodeo.
Practice pens are good. I mean, that's how you that's how you get better. And riding the real thing is definitely a little bit different than getting on something that's mechanical, for sure.
Yeah.
So you would end up becoming the founder. You founded a very special organization, the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. How did that transpire? And again, why and what inspired you to kind of begin this legacy, if you will, of recognizing the most prestigious military rodeo cowboys and cowgirls in the country?
Well, it all started. We decided to. I had decided to have a reunion of military rodeo cowboys, and it ended up being in Topeka, Kansas,
Mm-hmm.
because there was a military rodeo going on there, and we had that little reunion. And then when I got back home, I called Roy Madden at the time, and him being a mentor of mine and everything, I wanted to run it past him, and we discussed it, and he said that was a great idea, and we turned around and did our first one in Topeka. And I before that, I'd called Freddie Waltz, who was a rodeo bullfighter, and he still is a clown now, and he holds a PRCA card. And we discussed it. He said, well, why don't you become president? I'll become vice president. And I said, well, we need a couple others on the board. So we called 2 guys that I'm knew at the time, well, still know really, and asked them if they would like to become members on the board. And then it became that, and we added one more to round it out, and then we did our first one that next year.
Now, you were elected as the first president in 2018. Was that the birth of the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame? Was 2018?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. Do you have a mission statement?
Yeah, we honor those who served and wrote as our mission statement.
And what I know you have annual ceremonies where you do inductions and stuff like that. Is there anything that you guys do in the community during the year? Do you go out and support the Military Rodeo Cowboy Association active rodeos?
Yes.
What does the MRC a Hall of Fame do on a regular basis, if you will?
Well, the MRCA is an association. The MRCA HOF is the Hall of Fame. So
Sure.
basically, we have we've inducted a European association in there, MRA association, MRCA association. We're working with another association right now to get them to come in. We're working with them on a little bylaws here and there to bring them in.
Outstanding. So, when is your next induction ceremony, and where do you have these induction ceremonies?
Well, we were having in Topeka, Kansas. We have moved to Oklahoma City at the National Cowboy Museum and Heritage Center,
Mm-hmm.
and we were holding them in November, but we have switched to May of next year, and that was due to a purpose of drawing a major sponsor, because of the how to put it, they do their sponsorships at the beginning of every year in that quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So we've decided to switch that around a little and grab that sponsorship and try to get a major sponsor. Right now, our sponsorship is mostly private. I'd say 99% private.
And how how do you guys operate this organization? Is it strictly through folks just donating and giving monetary donations, or is it strictly through private businesses?
Well, like I was saying, 99% is private donations.
Okay. And how
Well,
can people give to the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame?
there's several ways of doing it. You can go to the website, mrcahof.com, or you can go to Facebook, Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. There's a button at the bottom where you can donate. A lot of people donate through Facebook on their birthday. That pops up and they'll donate that way,
Mm-hmm.
as I do every year.
And folks, you can contact and connect with the Military Rodeo Hall of Fame, with the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame at mrchof.com. It stands for the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame, mrchof.com, and you will be helping this very truly admirable organization in raising the funds they need to get those cowboys and cowgirls to be honored and to be inducted into this Hall of Fame. Now, what do these cowboys and cowgirls receive when they are inducted into the Hall of Fame that you created?
Well, basically, they receive a gold buckle. We have a luncheon the night before, a little dinner get together, and then the next day we induct our inductees. They get a Hall of Fame jacket and a buckle and a gift package, and the gift package comes with travel expense. We pay for the rooms while they're there for those 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
They get to stand up and give their little speech, and I've seen tears in people's eyes. I can bring a couple up that have gone on to be stuntmen after their military service, PRCA, bull rider, contractors, Cotton Rosser, Meisner and Sons have been inducted because they're our main stock contractors back in the 80s. That's about it.
How many have you put in the Hall of Fame since its inception in 2018?
Well,
Yeah, if you don't know off the top of your head, that's
so we're looking at from 2000 2022.
what's the selection process like when you guys are sitting down as a board to figure out who is going to be nominated?
Well, back to the inductees, it's been about 21 to date. The way they get nominated, we have a nomination committee that we select every year. I oversee that committee. Our secretary historian, Wayne Boney, sits on that committee to take notes. The committee goes through a process of elimination by the write-ups that come in, and we tally that up at the end. The top 4 or 5 for that year.
Folks, we are being joined by retired Marine Gunnery Sergeant Steve Wood, a legend in military rodeo, and is also the founder of the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame. Now, you have 21 inductees since 2018. You have a nomination committee that goes through and nominates and selects who will be nominated. How many have you? How many get nominated, and how many are actually inducted every single year? Is this something like maybe 50 names pop up at you, and you narrow it down to maybe 4 or 5?
Yes.
And who the nomination committee are the ones that that actually vote on all this. What does the voting look like? Like, how do you get it down from, like, say 50 to 4 or 5?
Well, the process is that we go through everyone in the first round, and then we'll go a second round, and they'll pick out of that, say 6 or 7 get into that second round, and we go from there. We'll take usually 4 to 5 out of that. And then they roll over till for 2 years. So they're active in our nomination for 2 years. And then after that, they have to get renominated. If they, and these are other people that write these people up, not the board.
Sure. Yeah, you got to be nominated by folks other than the executive directors and all the directors. So, I mean, that's how you keep it completely transparent, correct?
Well, correct.
Now, you go through the process of elimination just like any Hall of Fame does, whether it's, Major League Baseball or the NFL. You have a lot of sports writers that kind of do the same thing. They narrow it down. They take a very big field, and then they narrow it down to find out who's going to be there. Have you had several rodeo cowboys and cowgirls not make it, like maybe the first or second or third go around, but they end up actually making it on the 4th or 5th attempt?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We had one that didn't make it the first round, and he had to be resubmitted, and he made it. He was the top one on the next go around. So it just, just what the committee votes on, and how they look at each individual. It's a long write up on them. It's not, a short thing.
Let's go back to your rodeo days. I mean, you're a rodeo legend. I mean, 29 Palms, Camp Pendleton, you served in the Vietnam War, 23-year Marine. You've dedicated a life of service, and I believe you were born in 1953, and here you are, you're still out humping every day. You're keeping yourself in good shape, and you dedicate your off time into building this military rodeo cowboy Hall of Fame and ensuring the longevity of it, and ensuring that these men and women are honored in a way that will continue on a legacy long after you leave us here on Earth. How does that make you feel, building a lasting legacy?
Well, I'm honored to do it. I'm not the all around top number one cowboy in the military rodeo. I won some opens and stuff and here and there, but my big thing, even back, starting the 80s, was putting it together and helping Roy Madden, Ronnie Arrington start the MRA. And I became team captain. Nowadays, and this is something I thought of in 2018, was to, start a Hall of Fame and see where we could go with it. And it has gone well. Our biggest thing in that is a major sponsor. We do, film it. We try to find somebody to get it out there. If everybody goes to our website, they can see, all the everything related to it on that website. I mean, that website's big. It's got everything on there. It's got ceremonial videos, military rodeo history, nominations, about us, inductees, and the homepage. I mean, military rodeo goes back, Civil War days.
Yeah. I mean, what's more American than rodeos and apple pie, right?
Right.
Kind of hand in hand. Now, I mean, and I know you're a very humble man. I mean, I've seen your rodeo pictures, and a lot of the awards and recognitions, and a lot of your successful rides over the years back in your prime. And again, you're a very humble man, and you are truly a pioneer in the military rodeo world, and again, and even being the founder of the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame is something that you should be very, very proud of.
So I am, and I know that everybody on the board is very proud of it. Also, we work very hard at keeping this going.
Something you can hang your hat on at night, and no pun intended there. Every cowboy's got a place to hang his hat and put his boots and get ready to the next day, right? Saddle up and ride and cowboy up, right?
Yep. That's what it's about.
Now, back in your day, you were saddle bronc rider, and you were also a bull rider. Did you have a favorite one? I mean, were you better at saddle bronc, or were you a better bull rider, or were you about the same at both?
Well, I was better at saddle bronc. saddle bronc is the longest one to, how do I say, to understand the technique and to get there with. I mean, it takes, you know, a saddle bronc rider just doesn't come out of the woodwork. You have to really work at it. But once you get it down, it is probably the easiest of them all. But getting to it is getting to it. And there's nothing easy about any of the rough stock events or the time events. I mean, you look at people nowadays, you know, I mean, there's military guys still going out there going for it. And, you know, we have guys in senior pros and, you know, that are still riding in their, you know, 60s. And I met one young man down Paradise, Texas, that was 70-year-old and getting on bulls.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. And, you know, that's not something you pick up at 70. So he probably started riding bulls in his late teens or early 20s.
Oh, yeah.
That's a long time to be riding bulls, man. I got a question for you. You've been around a while. Like I said, you know, you're Gunny, you know, an old Gunny who has lived a life of rodeo. The younger generation that's out riding right now in rodeos, do any of these young cowboys and cowgirls ever reach out to you for mentorship or questions or advice on how to ride or what events to go in? I mean, just to call somebody up and really get those words of wisdom from you.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple of people here in Arizona, young men that are up in the White Mountain areas, and I go up there and I still work a rodeo up there every year, and they're always asking me certain things, certain techniques, you know, and advice that I can give them. My best advice to anybody who wants to start saddle bronc riding or anything is to go to a class school and be taught by a professional. That is the best way to learn. You know, I can give them pointers on certain ways of doing it, but my biggest pointer is to find a school, go to it, and the thing is, it's a safety thing. You won't get hurt as bad, and of course, you're going to get hurt in rodeo. There's no doubt about it. Your day will come, you know, and I let them know that, you know. I mean, anything can happen anytime in the chutes or out of the chutes.
Mm-hmm. Who's your favorite rodeo country music singer of all time?
Huh. Not in this small town.
I know mine. I know mine. Who's yours?
Well, I just said it. Not in this small town.
Not in this small town.
Right.
Oh, Jason Aldean?
Yep.
I'm a Chris Ledoux guy. I had you painted as a Chris Ledoux guy. I know you gotta love Chris Ledoux.
Yeah, I love Chris Ledoux. Johnny Cash was big for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I liked them all, and I still do to this day. Even, you know, the newer country, I like it. You know, but believe it or not, I'm a big rock fan too from the 70s and 80s. So, you know, you got to look at those guys too. You know, and a lot of guys will sit behind a chute with headphones on or ear pods in or something, and they're listening to rock and roll. They're like, listening to the country. They're listening to something that'll pump them up.
Right. They're listening to some Led Zeppelin or some AC/DC, some Motley Crue, some Metallica, and they're getting ready back there, and they're punching themselves in the face and getting ready and psyching themselves out, and they're going to go out there for an 8-second ride, and then they're probably going to go grab a beer.
Yeah.
This has been a lot of fun. We sincerely appreciate everything you have done and continue to do in the military and veteran community. Your service, your sacrifice and dedication to our great nation is truly admirable.
Well, thank you.
Yes, sir, folks. It's never been easier to listen to the Today with Tally podcast. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Facebook, and yes, I know I'm even on TikTok now. I guess I am becoming trendy, right? TikTok, yeah, I didn't mind it. I get a lot of really good information from TikTok, and I don't think it's a bad sign. But anyways, folks, always remember to stay inspired, stay encouraged, stay motivated, and always stay in the fight. Until next time, for Today with Tally podcast, this is Brian Tally. Good night, Semper Fi, and God